Hi, presented by Awesemo.com. I'm Dave Locker, and that fine fella right there is Josh Engelman. Joining me today, I think this is actually the first deeper dive we've done that haven't been Adam and myself since
On
we came over to
purpose,
Awesemo.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a
I mean, I
really
tag
good,
in from time to time.
that's a really good point. Yeah,
But
at least 3 times a week.
yeah, this is the
Uh,
first intentional one.
Adam is sick in Miami. You put the pieces of that puzzle together, friend.
I mildly believe him.
I'll give him the benefit of the doubt, and if not, like you said, he did a heck of a job selling it.
Yeah.
I mean, if if this is a bogus batch of lies, then, not bad, sir, you've earned it. But, yeah, so here we go, we got 6 games, man, the All-Star break is over, you have a good break?
I had a great break. How about you?
Not bad, went snowboarding, which was fun, finally got back up on the mountain, kinda renovated my kitchen a little bit. I didn't go anywhere though, I'll be going somewhere in a couple months, but stayed home. You, went on a little bit of a vacation, right?
I did. I went to Charleston for a couple days, which was very nice. It was nice to just not have responsibilities. It was nice to just not check things. So yeah, we were there for like 4 days. I was happy.
Very nice. Adam's still on break.
Adam is still on break.
All right, enough busting his balls.
Oh
We'll
man, I
get
could do it all
into it.
day.
That is the case. We've got 6 games here, and I'll tell you, writing a deep dive today was an interesting one because, like, the power forward, small forward positions, unless you're talking about like multi-position eligibility, really aren't that deep. But point guard, small forward, or point guard, shooting guard have a wealth of options, like
Yeah.
a ton of good options. Not to mention, when you look at the totals, you've got only 6 games, but you've got a 239 total, a 233, a 231, a 227, one at 221, and that's between the second slowest paced team in the league and Phoenix. And then Philly and Miami at 219 is the lowest projected scoring game of the night. So, despite only having 6 games, it should definitely be a high scoring night, not to mention, particularly on DraftKings, some wildly underpriced players.
Yeah, that's an understatement. When I was looking through the schedule this morning and talking with Adam before I got online, first thing I said was like, "Oh, if you don't feel great, first game up is Cavs Suns." So
Yeah, yeah, that'll help you.
yeah,
That'll remedy your that game's actually not that bad though once you dig into it, and that's where we're gonna start.
yeah, let's do it.
We've got Phoenix and Cleveland in Cleveland, 221 total. Yes, you heard it here first. Well, not really first, but this is the truth. Cavs are 1-point favorites here. They are favored. Forget about home court advantage. They're still favored by 1 point. Look, close projected game here, 221 total. You know, Phoenix is also playing at a top 10 pace over the last 30 days, too. So they've sped things up quite a bit since the start of the new year. And Josh, while Cleveland might be the second slowest paced team in the league, let's not ignore the fact that only 6 teams are allowing more points per game than the Cavaliers on the year, that nobody's allowing a higher field goal percentage, that only one team's allowing a higher 3-point percentage. I mean, they may play slow, but their defense is so atrocious that in this case, it really does not matter that much.
Yeah, it would be interesting if both of these teams played at an elevated pace because defensively they're both downright
Yeah.
dreadful.
The Suns have been, though, 102 possessions per 48 over the last, or since the start of January. That is tied with the Kings and the Pelicans. So they are playing at an elevated pace since 2019 commenced.
Yeah, I have them 10th right now, and then Cleveland is a firm 29th.
Yes, sir.
So, it congregates a little bit more in the middle. Phoenix makes Cleveland look fast. That's for sure.
Right. Yeah, I mean,
Or vice versa, I guess I mean that.
right. Look, it's not like a 221 total in a Cavs game really isn't that bad, though,
No.
especially given how bad their defense is. Let's start with Phoenix because you've got Devin Booker at $7,700 on DraftKings.
Yeah.
Even on FanDuel, weighing in at 8,200. Really not. I mean, he's been kind of volatile. His floor has been remotely low, relatively low, and there have been some blowouts, but the dude still has 60 plus fantasy point upside. It's still a Cleveland backcourt that has nobody equipped to handle him. I mean, you're getting Booker at a really reasonable price tonight against the Cavs.
Love him. Absolutely love him. I'm surprised he's not showing a little bit higher ownership. But I will likely be over the field across the board. He's without question my favorite thing in this game. 7,700 for him on DraftKings is just insanity. Although I feel like we're going to tell that exact same story as we go through each one of these games.
Right.
There's just crazy pricing across the board. But whether it's FanDuel, DK, or Yahoo, I have no problem having an abundance of Devin Booker.
Me neither. Not at all. Moses Guthrie with a pretty solid tweet. Shout out to TMCB74 for referring to Ship My Money as Ship My Pepto. Ship My Modem is still a better one, but yeah, let's get him cured up so he's back by tomorrow, and we'll keep going on here.
Yeah.
Josh Jackson also, by the way, if you look at what he's done with Warren out, Josh, it kind of all comes into view or into focus. He has a 27% usage rate since TJ Warren's been out. It's the second highest on the team. 15% assist rate, not great, but manageable. 1.03 fantasy points per minute. And in close games, you're getting 36, 37, 38 minutes from him. This is not a terrible spot for Jackson. It's a power or small forward position that doesn't have a real wealth of options either. And hey, the Cavs, with Jackson playing at power forward, even with Kevin Love back, Tristan Thompson is out. So your front court defense gets a little bit weaker. I don't have an issue with Jackson. I don't know how much I get to him or Oubre, but I don't think either of them are particularly poor options either.
Yeah, have you seen that? Have you seen Jackson's ownership on FanDuel?
Is it wild?
It's
I haven't.
wild. Real wild. He is currently number one of the slate. 33%.
And 9% on DraftKings.
Yeah, like the 9% is fine. You know, I'll come in around that number, probably a little lower, but nothing crazy. But yeah, he's 33% on FanDuel right now.
Yeah.
Right? That's healthy.
That seems high. So let's just quickly break this down since we only have 6 games.
Yeah.
I look at power forward. I see Tobias Harris at 7,100. We're talking FanDuel only. No Joel Embiid. Embiid still has a 31% usage rate since Harris has joined the Sixers. So let's not pretend that this is not a huge hole that needs to be filled in the Sixers starting lineup. You have Tatum, 7K, with Gordon Hayward not expected to play. Draymond at 6,800. We can get into that a little while later. Kyle Kuzma, Josh Jackson, Marvin Bagley, and then you've got the likes of like Kelly Olynyk and Bam Adebayo and I think Bolden. Is Bolden power forward eligible here? Yeah, power forward. So you have a few cheat guys. They're all risky. I still don't think, even with this slate being only 6 games, it still seems like power forward is deep enough, keyword being enough, for Jackson not to be that popular.
I'm a little surprised by that number. 33% feels way too high for him. Granted, he is not priced correctly on FanDuel relative to his DraftKings price. However, still Josh Jackson on a 6-game slate with no real crazy news. It's not like we just found out Booker and Ayton are out. To have him in a third of the lineup seems just a little bit high.
Yeah, it seems outrageous. At 9% on DraftKings, though, I do like it. And I'll tell you what, I don't think 5,900 is terrible either. I mean, actually, I think it's very reasonable. Forget about last game. He played 15 minutes. He picked up to second and third foul midway through the second, only played a couple minutes, then picks up 2 quick fouls to start the third quarter, never comes back. They get smoked by 28 points or something, or 27 points. So that doesn't count. Aside from that, though, he's getting the run. He's playing big minutes. I like Josh Jackson. I don't like Josh Jackson at 30%, 33%. I do like Josh Jackson at single-digit ownership on DraftKings.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that.
Where else on Phoenix are you going? Are you on Ayton? Because for me, I think I may be having a little bit more trouble than others getting there, solely because I love a few guys at the center position just more than I like him.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Ayton here. I will end up being sort of double the field. He's at 11% on FanDuel. He's at 9% on DK. I think it's easier to just sort of hemorrhage off some of the higher owned guys. Like, look, I very much love Draymond today. I very much love DeMarcus Cousins. But if these guys are going to get a ton of ownership, it's really easy to give an extra percentage point or two to Ayton and then get to double the field on him or Whiteside or whatever other centers are around there and still be pretty heavy on these other Golden State guys that have just a absolutely fantastic matchup. But yeah, I'm a big fan of Ayton today.
All right, I think that's fair. I think the reason I'm lower on him than you are is because Yusuf Nurkic is projected to have only 11% ownership on DraftKings.
Yeah.
He is 7,400. We'll get into Enes Kanter and how that plays into this, but Nurkic at that price point, hell, he could in 26 minutes he could erupt in a really really good matchup against Brooklyn. So I do think there are other options around there to where I don't mind Ayton. I agree that getting over the field on him is very easy. But I really like Nurkic too.
Yeah, a fan of Nurkic. There's just this sea of dudes in that price range with center eligibility or power forward center eligibility where if you want to get off of any real major chalk, it's there for you.
Yep, I'm with you. What about Cleveland? And by the way, anything on Oubre? Anything on Oubre?
Nothing really on Oubre. Bridges is chalk on FanDuel, 18%. I get why he's 5K and plays 30 plus minutes. So in a perfect matchup. It's not like I think that he's fantastic, but I understand why he's owned.
Yeah, I'm not paying. That's tough for me. I still think 46 and 5K is a bit rich, bit steep, but I get it. I get the minutes. I get the matchup. I'm still not enthralled by Bridges. So let's move on. I get it. With Cleveland, Clarkson and Sexton played 48 and 45 minutes respectively last game, 33 and 30 minutes respectively in regulation. I mentioned this on the Early Bird podcast with EMAC. It's pretty amazing. Guess how many minutes straight Clarkson played last game?
Oh God. 29.
34. 34 straight minutes.
I figured you were leading me into all of the fourth quarter and every overtime.
Right.
I didn't know how much he closed out the end of the third.
You would be accurate in all of the fourth quarter and all three overtimes. But Clarkson came in with 7 minutes remaining in the third. So he played 19 final minutes in regulation plus 15 straight in overtime. That's a lot of straight minutes to play. But he did it.
It's insanity.
But yeah,
don't assume you're going to get those same minutes today.
Oh no. I think it's important we put it into context. He played 33 minutes in regulation and played 19 straight to close out regulation. So I feel more comfortable putting him around 30. I feel more comfortable putting Sexton around 30, 31, which is what he's been playing. On the flip side, though, to kind of mitigate some concern, if you are interested in like a $4,900 Sexton, they are playing the Phoenix Suns. They are playing a bad backcourt defense. And that's the one thing you have working for you. But like you said, those minutes overtime did them many favors.
For sure. Yeah, Sexton, chalky on DK, chalky on FanDuel, 22% on FanDuel, 19% on DK. I'm not going to go crazy over these guys that are owned in games that I'd rather just not have a big piece of. It's so much easier to find value elsewhere. So it's not as if I'm walking away from Sexton or walking away from, Clarkson. I like Clarkson on DK at 5,700, especially if he's not going to garner too much ownership. But I don't need to go north of 20% on Colin Sexton on a day like today.
I'm with you. I don't think you do. Since the trade deadline, Clarkson's got a 33% usage rate, which is really strong. If he was playing 35 minutes, like 34, 35 minutes, I think you and I would be singing a very different tune here. Maybe not. I certainly know I would. At 34, 35 minutes from Clarkson with 30+% usage against the Suns, I'd be in an entirely different spot.
Oh, he'd be one of the best players. Like I have him in for 29 minutes right now. And if that's the case at 12%, I'm going to come in over the field on DraftKings.
Yeah, right.
I won't like it because it's Jordan Clarkson and the Cavs, but there's too much upside there because that dude likes the gun.
He does. He keeps getting work. And outside of Dellavedova, he's got the highest assist rate. I'm not including Brandon Knight in his 15 minutes per game. So he is facilitating, and that's not something Clarkson's particularly strong at. Or sorry, Sexton. I do like Clarkson a little bit more. If you're playing on a site where they're like the same price, I'm always going Clarkson over Sexton.
Yep.
But look, I do think $4,900 on Sexton is very reasonable. It's just, as you mentioned, almost 20% of the field feels the same way as we have projected.
Yeah, it's a little bit too much to go crazy for. I want to have some, but he's not going to dictate my night.
I had a question earlier in chat. I figured we'd save it for the show. Hopefully, that fella's watching about Chetty, and he asked, is Chetty too cheap on FanDuel at 4,800? Expecting him, as he put it, to get all the run. Right now, you have Chetty what's his projected ownership? 22% on FanDuel. What are your thoughts on Chetty and the rest of this Cleveland team?
I like him more than I want to. I have him in for 30 minutes because I think that he starts to get back to where he was. That extra week off probably doesn't hurt. If he doesn't get every single bit of those minutes, it's a problem. So I'm going to approach him a little bit with kid gloves. But it's just another piece of like mid fives value that exists today. I'd rather just cycle through it than be invested in one particular guy.
Yeah, small forward. He's 4,800.
Yeah.
The players in the similar tier, you've got Jake Layman, Bielitsa, a little bit cheaper. Then you have Bridges, Carroll Harris, a little bit more expensive. JJ Redick, small forward at 5,500. We'll get to him, but yeah, there are a few guys just kind of jumbled up there. When it comes to Chetty, he's not somebody I'm actively seeking to get into lineups. And really, it's if you land on him, sure. But that 26.5 rebounds, 7 assists, 2 steal, 1 block, 49 fantasy point game we saw at the end of January. Those are few and far between from
That's
a
an
guy like
understatement.
Chetty. Yeah. And he had that stretch of 4 really good games, right? But then he just will fall off the face of the earth. Uh, Not to mention that he's not. What minutes do you have him projected for tonight?
Chetty,
Yeah,
30.
30 minutes. Yeah, I think that's reasonable. And I have him at 31, and I still don't have him as the greatest value. Better value on FanDuel, but
Yeah.
I don't have him as like a locked in must play.
Nope. Yeah, same page.
Anyone else for Cleveland?
Kevin Love on FanDuel, depending on how many minutes you think he plays.
All right.
How many minutes do you have Kevin Love playing?
Jigic will remain in the starting lineup, by the way.
Okay.
I have Kevin Love playing 22 minutes.
So do I.
Oh, wait. Yes, 22 minutes.
Yeah, so do I. If he plays 22, I think he's perfectly reasonable on FanDuel. If you get anything north of that, you're really, really happy. And I'd be very surprised if he played somewhat significantly less than that.
Yeah, it's a good spot. Man, 5,700. So you're basically talking about the same price as Bagley, Josh Jackson, Morris. I could see it.
It's not super appealing, but if he's just like healthy now and plays 28 minutes, then he blows that price tag out of the water.
Yeah, and the funny thing too is I know he was sidelined for a long time. What was it, like almost 3 months?
Yeah.
But it wasn't a lower body, or it was a lower body, but it was a toe injury. It wasn't like a knee injury, or one of those hamstring injuries that you're real careful to come back from. It was a toe injury. Maybe I'm downplaying it, but you would think that he'd be able to play 20 plus. Obviously, still a significant risk, but at 57, I don't think you're crazy to say that, especially on this Cleveland team, he could, he could drop 40 fantasy. He could drop 2 fantasy points per minute in this matchup.
Yeah.
Just a ton of risk.
Absolutely.
All right, let's talk Miami and Philly. We got Philly hosting the Miami Heat. Mentioned earlier, 219 total, lowest on the slate. Still not terrible, but it's definitely lower than many of these other games. Philly 5.5-point favorites. Joel Embiid sidelined will be reevaluated in a week. He's got some benign knee soreness that they're looking into. Hopefully it's precautionary, but with the Sixers front office and medical staff, yeah, he could have a torn ACL. You never know. You know how it goes. But I'll tell you what, man. Oh, Kevin Love and Nwaba will remain on a minutes limit. We expected that to be the case. We don't have anything specific. I'll let you know if we get it.
Yeah.
But with Tobias Harris has looked really good for the Sixers. since in the 4 games that he's played. Now, if you're just going by usage, then that's a different conversation, right? His usage has not been high, around 20%. But man, this dude is a very efficient scorer, Josh. And he's got what, a 60% EFG, or I believe true shooting's right up around there as well, shooting 43% from deep this year. Uh, he's just been very, very efficient. And, I'm not really considering the sample in these 4 games with Embiid off the court. I just don't think it's enough. What I do think is with his 31% usage rate voided and his 21% rebounding rate voided, that's what he has in the 4 games since Tobias Harris has joined. It's going to need to be picked up somewhere, and I think there will be enough to go around for these guys that are priced with Embiid on the court, especially on DraftKings.
Yeah, Butler is my guy. I'll get that out of the way now.
It's Butler, okay.
Yeah.
All right, we'll talk about him.
Before we started this show, I was like, okay, I need to take a look at this and see, what does Butler look like with Embiid off the floor? How is this team shook out? And basically every one of Jimmy Butler's rates, including his usage, shoot through the sky when Joel Embiid is not on there. Yeah. And by bumping him up, he's grading out now as one of my better plays of the day. I have Butler 6th overall on DraftKings right now. I'm going to have a ton of him. I hope that his ownership doesn't go up. I'd like to be, somewhere in the double the field neighborhood, but Butler's the guy that I'm hitching my wagon to. Simmons is close, but I'd say 2nd overall. It's a lot tighter on FanDuel than it is on DK for me. And then I'd say Harris is 3rd, but he's not a guy I'm getting to a ton. I'm a little nervous about that. But if he's going to be 22% on FanDuel or 19, he's the highest owned guy we have on DK for the Sixers. So I'm comfortable just being somewhere else.
Well, Ben Simmons is, unless or on FanDuel, Ben Simmons.
Yeah, Ben is the highest on FanDuel. On DK, it's Tobias Harris.
Yeah, probably worth pointing out that they're all pretty close.
Yeah.
Like there's no huge separation.
No.
Here's my thing. Go ahead.
No, nothing. I was just agreeing.
I'm with you when it comes to Butler. I mean, I like him quite a bit with Embiid off the court. Now, granted, we don't know exactly what it'll look like with Harris, but with Embiid off the court, his usage goes to 30%. His assist rate's at 22%, 10% rebounding rate, 1.32 fantasy points per minute. Again, Embiid's still operating with 31% usage since Harris has played. So I like Butler, no doubt. But I also find Harris interesting, and the reason for that is he's got a 19% usage rate since joining the Sixers, right? 15% assist rate, 11% rebound rate, actually 2nd in potential rebounds behind Embiid over that span. That's nice to see. Yeah. And you've actually seen it eat into Ben Simmons rebounding. There's a direct correlation there. Even with Embiid on the court, meaning not with him on the court, but even with Embiid healthy, Harris is averaging over a fantasy point per minute, 59.3% EFG. So I think you're going to see more added scoring opportunities, particularly more rebounding opportunities, especially when Jonah Bolden and maybe you get some Amir Johnson on the court. I think I think it's a really good spot for Harris, and 6,600 on DraftKings, 71 on FanDuel. If you get 36 minutes from him here, I think it's going to be hard for him to really kill you in this spot too.
Yeah, I would have no problem getting him. He's just 3rd.
Right, and I mean,
how much do you boost Ben Simmons projections because it's Australian Heritage Night?
Well, if that's the case, we got to boost Jonah Bolden's too.
Yeah,
because he's an Aussie.
Yeah.
I don't whatsoever.
Yep, no, not a single. I multiply everything by 1.
Yeah, exactly.
That's my boost.
I got a narrative for tonight, but we're not there yet. And I never talk narratives. Look, the truth is, when Butler came to town, I very firmly believed that it would not hurt Ben Simmons, and I was right. When Tobias Harris came to town, I didn't know how it would affect him. I didn't think it would hurt him this much. Definitely was wrong. He is now, granted, 4 games. Once again, it's 4 games. Boston does an excellent job of taking him out, so that game was to be expected. But it's tough to say, man. And having no Embiid, Tobias Harris is actually a skilled passer.
Yeah.
Doesn't get the opportunity too much, but he is. Actually, among forwards, he was the among forwards, only 2 forwards ran the pick and roll as the ball handler more than him, this season when he was with the Clippers, so he's very capable. So, I think all of them are in play. How many Sixers are you willing to play? How many of the big 3, we'll call them, are you willing to play in the same lineup?
Uh, I mean, the 3 probably. Like it all depends how many I'm playing. If I had 150 lineups on a 6-game slate, I have no problem having all 3 of them. They're all at reasonable
Okay,
price tags. It's
okay.
not something that I would be seeking out, and I'd be surprised if I got it more than once or
But if
twice.
you land on it, you're not pivoting.
Yeah, but if I were playing a 20 max, I'd be shocked if I ever got to more than 2.
Okay. Yeah, and we still haven't talked about I mean, Reddick is a distant fourth for me, but
Yeah.
only because peripherally, it's so difficult for him to get there unless he's scoring a lot of points.
Yep.
But with Boban, who's played more than 23 minutes once over the last 3 years,
Yeah, can we put this to
he
bed now? I didn't have any backup during the early
what we're
show.
putting to bed.
How many
Explain,
minutes do
because
you
I
expect Boban to play today?
20.
Okay, I put him in for 18. I have Bolden in for 18. I have Amir Johnson in for 12. You can pretty much wiggle every one of those if you'd like. But we've got Boban at 23% ownership on FanDuel and 16 on DK. Like, okay.
Yeah. So, the thing with me is he does about 4 years ago, he was actually there were a few games where he played, like, 35 minutes.
Yeah.
Which is pretty wild. Not something we should expect to see again,
Yeah,
at least not tonight. He's 7'3", 290. Like, that fella's bones can only handle so much.
for sure.
But I think it's reasonable. Here's why I'm okay putting around 20. He has been the primary backup for Embiid since the deadline.
Yep.
You have Bolden. Amir Johnson is not really playing at all unless it's just a massive blowout. So, yeah, 20 minutes, 1.3 fantasy point per minute guy. I really don't have any issues with him. I guess the question, what did you say you have Bolden at?
18,
18. And Amir?
12.
Okay.
I feel like, 2 nice rotations for Amir is something that happens in this spot. The Heat are like oddly set up well for that.
It's possible.
But I mean, look, I don't have any confidence in it. No one should.
No, neither do I. I really don't. I have no idea. I mean, honestly, Amir might not play at all, and Bolden plays 28 minutes off the bench. Like,
Yeah.
it's unlikely, but Bolden could easily play 25 minutes in this game.
Yep.
He could. And I don't think, if Boban's going to be popular, and he always is in spots like this, I don't think it's the craziest idea to pivot to some Bolden if you're trying to get off of that, but you're okay with the risk because both of them are risky. I don't think it's insane, but yeah, it's a tough one to break down, and it's going to be tough to digest no matter which way you go with it.
Yeah. Like I'll have some Boban. That's fine. I think he should play a decent amount with the ability to maybe get to like 23, 24 minutes if things are going well. I think it's just as likely that he plays 14 minutes, gets into foul trouble, or they don't use him because Whiteside and Bam Adebayo are too athletic for him. Certainly possible. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, we haven't seen Embiid not play in a while. We haven't seen Embiid not play with this cast of characters and a dramatically different team that it's been all year, or last year for that matter. So, we're guessing a little bit.
I think it's highly unlikely that we get only like 13, 14 minutes from him, but I don't think it's crazy to say, yeah, he might only play 17 minutes. Now, the good thing about Boban is if he plays 17 minutes, he's generally not going to destroy you at almost minimum salary. So
No, he's
you at
going to
least
soak
have
up
that
something.
right. You at least have that working for you. Um, the funny thing is he's even been involved a little bit as a passer. So Boban gets it done, man. It's just hard to predict. But if you're asking me, hey, raw points, who do you like more, Boban or Bolden? I'm gonna go Boban all the time, every time, because if both of them play 18 minutes, it's very unlikely that Bolden outproduces him from a fantasy standpoint.
Absolutely. Like, it's what, probably, if you have them at the same minutes, it's probably what, 70-30 Boban? 80-20?
Yeah, 80-20. Yeah,
I'll take
for
that
sure.
chance at Jonah Bolden at 2% ownership.
Right. Look, but the difference is there's also there's a distinct possibility that Bolden plays like 7, 8 more minutes than Boban too.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
You
certainly
know,
there.
yeah, not saying it's going to happen, but it definitely could. Let's talk about the other side of this game. You've got Miami. We just get news that Dragic is unlikely to play.
Yeah, I just saw that. Lovely.
Yeah, so
I
now
liked it better when he was healthy or when he could play, just so I can say, don't look at anybody on the Heat.
I know, I know. Well, it's also difficult because you've got Bam Adebayo at 3,500 on DraftKings, and
Mm-hmm.
I mean, sure, Bam Adebayo isn't exactly a stellar fantasy option, but hey, he is basically a 1 point per minute guy. Uh, Depending on how much Spoelstra loves or hates Whiteside on any given night, Adebayo can play 28 minutes. It, and he could see a lot of those minutes against Bolden and Amir Johnson.
Yeah. Like
He's
I like Bam more in
really
a GPP than I do Boban.
Yeah, I don't have an issue with that. Same price. I don't have an issue with that. No. Um, I mean, Brett Brown might do something funky and play Bolden for like 28 minutes. See, we haven't even discussed that,
No.
right? We haven't even mentioned that as a possibility. If you were to tell me in YouTube chat, Slack chat, whatever you want, there's no way that Bolden can play 28 minutes. Well, I mean, we were saying the same thing 3, 4 years ago, and then he goes out and plays 35. Like, it's unlikely.
Yeah.
It's definitely unlikely. But I'll just to add fuel to that fire and see what you're thinking is if you look at their schedule over the span that Embiid's expected to sit, they play today, and then they're off. They play Saturday, then they're off. They play Monday. So no back to backs or anything here. 35 minutes, obviously not happening. But if Bowen played 26, 28 minutes, I wouldn't be like, oh my God, I never saw that coming because I really don't know.
Yeah, so here's what I've been thinking about it. I feel like he fits this team way worse now with Embiid out. To have Butler out there, to have Simmons out there, he is just another guy that is without question clogging shit up in the middle of the paint. I could see him not being utilized as much as you would expect because he does not fit a Ben Simmons, Jimmy Butler plus X plus Y rotation.
He doesn't, but you know,
That could be a lot more Bolden, or I don't know what else, but Boban is going to clog shit up potentially.
It could, and that might just be something that they live with. That's the thing, right? Like
We're never getting through these games.
No, no chance, no chance. I'm with you 100%. It is not ideal by any stretch, but I think it's also worth noting that Jonah Bolden isn't a particularly good basketball player, and Amir Johnson doesn't even get minutes most nights. So,
and Mike Scott could certainly soak up minutes at the 5 against Bam Adebayo.
Scott could get minutes. Yeah. I mean, Scott's been playing minutes. Scott's been involved off the bench. He's been hot garbage if you've watched any of those games.
Yeah.
Oh my God. But he's there and he's getting some run. So that's also a possibility. Do I think that Mike Scott hauls in a bunch of minutes at the 5? I don't. But anything's possible. I was even thinking earlier this morning, Tobias, they might go small with McConnell out there, put Simmons at the 4 and play Harris at the 5 for minutes.
Yeah.
That could happen too. So
not out of the realm of possibility.
Like you said, we don't know. And we haven't seen this situation before with Harris or Bolden or Harris or Scott or Boban on the team. We don't know. We can only speculate.
And as for Miami, feel free to just reach into a hat and pick out a name.
Pretty much.
I can't in good conscience recommend anybody with any sort of volume outside of like Whiteside and GPPs, Bam Adebayo and GPPs. Feel pretty comfortable with Josh Richardson on FanDuel. Other than that, I can't care about this Heat team.
I mean, Waiters will probably continue to get significant minutes.
Yeah.
I don't know if Derek Jones is expected to play, but Waiters and Wade on DraftKings is like 4,300 in tournaments. I can understand it if he gets the minutes. Continuing this farewell tour in Philly.
Yep.
But yeah, I'm with you. If any, I really do think though in tournaments, there is a lot of upside at the center position here. It's just we don't know where it's going to come from. It's one of these two players, right? It's one of Whiteside or Bam. And man, Whiteside could just crush whether it
Ooh.
be Boban or anybody. This is a really good spot
Yeah.
for Whiteside.
Yeah,
But
for
I
sure.
I can't get in Spoelstra's head.
No, again, like that's how up in the air the Philly rotation is too. That the
Mhm,
opposite side of the coin is there. That Whiteside
mhm.
plays 20 minutes and Bam plays 28, and all of a
Yep.
sudden, like because that happens and Whiteside's not on the floor, then Boban's not on the floor, and then it's Bam beasting on Jonah Bolden, and this entire rotation just goes to shit.
Yep. We gotta move on, but where are you at on Kelly Olynyk?
Really?
Any 20, 28 minutes, some games, 30 minutes, some games,
I have him
30.
in for 20 today. Especially if Derek Jones is back now too. Um,
Yeah, I don't think Jones is gonna play, but I'd still just rather go to Bam Adebayo here if
yeah.
I'm going.
Well, look, if you get him on the right day and it's the 28-minute Kelly Olynyk day, then you're happy as a pig and shit. Otherwise, he probably burns you.
Yes, this is true. And it also probably depends on what Philly does with the center rotation and how small they run.
Yep.
All right, let's keep moving here. Brooklyn and Portland. So we've got the Brooklyn Nets,
Ugh.
and they're playing at the second fastest pace in the league since the start of the new year. We've talked about this a lot. Strategy show, deeper dive, you name it. They are 2.5 point dogs, 230.5 total. So a nice total here. I told you I like Nurkic a lot. Do I
Yeah.
worry a little bit about Cantor? Yeah, I think it's something to consider. Is he confirmed playing today?
I'm pretty sure that I read that like he was in for today and active. I don't.
I thought so as well.
I
Thought so
like I
too.
don't have. It's not in the top of my head, but that is what I remember.
I saw it the other day. Yeah, will make his debut.
Yeah,
Um,
that sort of terminology.
yeah, I don't know. He has to be. If anyone has like confirmation, hit us up in Slack. It'd be
Does it
appreciated.
matter really?
Yeah, it matters because if he wasn't playing, I'd feel a little bit more comfortable about Nurkic. But I still like Nurkic regardless, so I'm not too concerned.
Yeah. Like, it's not like
I mean,
Nurkic is going to play 18 minutes tonight or something crazy.
correct, correct.
He's going to be
And
north of 28, barring foul trouble, one way or the other.
I'd say I'd say 28, 27 is like the low range of what he could play, and I would hope to get to like 32. But
Yeah.
if Cantor plays, yeah, I can mind you, they still need some semblance of defense, and Cantor that has always been his huge weakness. Like you said, barring foul trouble, barring a blowout, he's going to get minutes. Stotts did not close out down the stretch with Nurkic against Golden State, which is weird because they had in two previous games, but they pulled away with that game late in the fourth, and he just never returned. But he's getting 30 plus minutes in non-blowout games, in games where he isn't suffering or struggling with foul trouble. I just see 7,400 for a guy that's like a 1.4 per minute guy against a Brooklyn team that's been hammered by opposing bigs. It's tough for me to get away from, man.
Oh, I love him. I'll have double the field. I like him even more on FanDuel at 8,100. Yeah, I mean, I love this whole Portland side. Dame, Nurkic, CJ on FanDuel at 6,400 is fantastic. Nurkic on Yahoo for $27 is better than he is anywhere else. I'm just in for this top three at Portland.
Me too. I'm not as big on Rob says, any good data regarding players getting the long break, particularly older players like Wade? No, like concrete data, but it doesn't hurt them if
Yeah,
that's what you're wondering.
I've never
Like
looked into it.
me neither. Like Steve Kerr, for example, said he saw Cousins starting to wear out and get fatigued down. Over the last few games, he's played 11 games since returning or since making his debut, and that he thought the break would be great for him. We'll get into that a little bit more later. But sure, I mean, guys recovering from injuries or whatnot, it's not going to hurt them. Definitely not going to hurt them. But continuing with this one, for me, I really like Dame. 80's not on FanDuel. I don't want to pay five figures for him. I don't think it's necessary. But 86 on DraftKings to me is really appealing. Very good spot. Significant pace up spot for Portland as well. Him and Nurk are my two favorite. Nurkic. What about Brooklyn?
I hate this team. They're like the new Heat. I don't know
Yeah,
what
it's
to do
tough,
with
man.
Levert's minutes. I don't know what to do with Alan Crabb's minutes. I don't know who to take them from. There's too many dudes here.
Yeah.
So how many minutes do you have LeVert playing?
So here's the thing. He played 30 total minutes
I know, I
last
hate
game.
it.
3 of them were in overtime, and then he did not return.
Yep.
So he played 27 minutes in regulation, right? Um, I, the thing is, one might say, "Oh yeah, we'll give him 30 minutes, no problem." It's like, all right, but wait, there are still a lot of players on this team.
Yeah.
There are still a lot of players on this team, and might I add that that Kurucs is expected to play. He was out last game,
Yep.
right? And he had been while he wasn't getting as many minutes, the guy's still playing, 16, 17, 18, 19 minutes per game. So if you reintroduce him to the starting lineup or into the rotation at all, is it a lot? Is it a guarantee that LeVert plays 30? I don't think so at all.
I gave him 27. I gave Kurucs 8. I gave Allen Crabbe 24. Ultimately, the guys that I want to play are Jared Allen on DraftKings at 4,900. This is just insane price tag. I'd be fine with Ed Davis at 3,400 in GPPs. And then I'll take a shot at some D'Angelo Russell at 8,200. But I understand why people would go to LeVert at 5,100. It's a great price. I just don't know how long he's going to be on the floor. And I don't know how to figure it out. I don't know where the minutes come from. I assume we'll find out after this.
I don't think even Atkinson knows how to figure it out.
That's a very true statement.
I'm giving him 28 minutes. Could he play 30? I think, yeah, it's possible.
Yep.
But I don't think it's a guarantee. They still have a lot of bodies, a lot of mouths to feed in this rotation. From Russell to Harris to RHJ to Allen to LeVert to Crabbe to Carroll to Napier to Davis to Kurucs.
I could see Rondé Hollis-Jefferson being the guy that takes the haircut for all of this. Because I don't know that he's a net next year, and he's the one that's expendable.
Also, is Travion Graham going to play? Listen, he was playing 20, 24 minutes per game prior to this. He's
got
back.
him in.
Okay, yeah. Oh, you know who else is available? Jared Dudley.
Fuck, that I didn't know.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm not even saying they're playing the same position, but it's still, you're still moving guys around. You're still sliding guys out position. Like, Dudley probably doesn't play, and if he does, it's like 2-3 minutes. But still, there. If anything, I'll use your term, trace amounts when it comes to Brooklyn Nets players.
Yeah. But that's all I can agree with, except for I think Jared Allen for 4,900 is just kind of a crazy price if he gets the full run of minutes that he.
And Russell's going to get the run too. Like Russell, I'm not worried about whatsoever. But when you're talking about these wing players and the fours, they're 100%. You're just picking them out of a hat and hoping you get the right one.
I agree. Yeah, it's much like the Heat. I can't recommend anybody in good conscience except for Jared Allen's misprice. Well, not misprice, but just, criminally low price.
Talk to me about Milwaukee and Boston here. We got 3 games to go. I don't imagine we spend as much time on this one. Maybe I'm wrong. 227 total. Bucks are 5.5-point home favorites. Kyrie Irving's off the injury report. I like Irving quite a bit. We'll get to the rest of this game, and Gordon Hayward is not expected to play. Giannis Antetokounmpo is probable to play. Start with whichever team you'd like.
Yeah, it's more about what I don't like on Milwaukee. We have Giannis projected for 24% ownership on DraftKings.
Yeah, and Irving for 6, by the way. Not to say that there's any direct comparison, but yeah.
No, I would greatly prefer Kyrie at 6 than Giannis at 24 here. I don't agree with the 24. I won't have anywhere near there. I prefer everything in the Lakers. I prefer everything that starts at 10:30 tonight. So I'll have some Giannis. I'll be way under the field if that's the number. I think Eric Bledsoe's $6,700 price on FanDuel looks pretty nice, but otherwise it's very minimal amounts. At best, 1 out of 20 lineups if you're playing a 20 max on DK. And Giannis and Bledsoe are the only guys that would have any sort of volume for me on FanDuel.
Josh, I'll tell you what. I was really surprised to see that projected ownership on Giannis.
You and me both.
I was really surprised. I'll just tell you straight up. I like Harden and LeBron more, so we'll get there. By the way, if you're wondering where we're getting these ownership projections from, you can check it out at awesemo.com and get 50% off your first month. That's right, half off your first month. Very simple too. You go to the homepage at awesemo.com, AWESEMO.com. Click join now. It's at the top right of the homepage. and select your plan. You select that Fantasy Cruncher add-on if you'd like. It's very helpful. And take 2 seconds to enter your name, your information, and then click on the coupon, put in Deeper Dive, all one word, Deeper Dive, not 2 words, but one. And there you go. Bing, bang, boom. You've got 50% off your first month. You can join the family over here at Awesemo. We'd love to have you. From the lineup builder to the Fantasy Cruncher add-on to ownership projections to our rankings and projections for every other sport and all of our in-depth and comprehensive articles. We got it all. We'd love to have you over here. Check us out, awesemo.com. Deeper Dive, one word. That's the coupon code, the promo code you want to use. And hopefully we'll see you in our Slack chat.
Boom.
Other than that, Milwaukee, I'm just not high on.
Neither
Boston, I do like Kyrie though. Straight up, like the fact that he's projected at that low of ownership, knowing his upside, knowing he's not in the injury report, played in the All-Star game, so I'm not too worried about that. Pace up spot, big time pace up spot for Boston. Sure, defensively, it is a tough matchup, but they are allowing the most 3-point attempts in the league. And they're allowing the 13th highest 3-point percentage. So it's not just like a ton of missed opportunities. They do allow decent field goal percentage from beyond the arc. I expect this game to be close, and I know what Irving can do in close games. I just think at 6%, that's too low to ignore him.
I do not disagree. I have no problem with Kyrie. Similarly, Al Horford at 6K is just too low, overpriced big man on a DraftKings slate. So feel free to get some of that. I don't need the Jason Tatum chalk, although I understand it. I don't know. It's just, this is a hard game for me to really want to get behind.
Yeah, me too. But I do like Irving. Aside from that, I think Brown probably gets a little bit of additional run with Hayward out. I'm not big on him. Tatum, I think Tatum at 5,900 on DraftKings is perfectly reasonable. But all of these guys, none of these guys am I looking at as focal points. I don't have them as top options outside of in tournaments. Kyrie Irving to me makes quite a bit of sense, and I'll likely have a decent amount of that, especially being that he's projected to be way lower owned than Dame and even D'Angelo Russell and a bunch of other guards. Like a third of the ownership of Curry, Lillard, and Russell. So I do like that.
Yeah, it's just too low, especially with extremes. Like if Giannis is at 24,
right?
Just take less and buy more studs.
Anything else in this game?
I hope not.
Okay, we got 2 to go.
These are the ones that matter.
Yeah, let's talk about Houston and the Lakers. Houston 3-point road favorites, 233 total. I want to point something out to you, and then I'll let you run with it. I told you I'm not a narrative guy, which I'm not, but once in a while something catches my eye. I think LeBron has lost a step this year. Not as aggressive at the point of attack. We've seen that down the stretch, late in games. Usually he takes over. That hasn't really been the case. Well, we've seen this many times in the past. LeBron James, when it comes down to it, when push comes to shove, he kicks it into a high gear. And he said it's been activated after Wednesday's practice, talking about being ready to raise the intensity to a playoff level, as he said, as the Lakers prepare for that second half push. So we've seen it before, man. He'll sit in cruise control through the first 50 or so games, sometimes less, sometimes more. He knows right now that the Lakers have zero chance unless he goes off. And he is still averaging a triple-double since returning from injury. 10-6 on DraftKings with the 11-6 on FanDuel. Yeah, man, maybe I'm a sucker. 11-7. Maybe I'm a sucker, but LeBron James is just too good for me to overlook in a game with this high of a total. In a game, matter of factly, that they need to win if they have any hopes of staying in contention. Yeah, I'm back on LeBron here, Josh.
I don't disagree. I just greatly prefer James Harden.
Well, I like Harden a lot too, but that's besides the point.
Yeah.
They are significantly different. There is a big disparity in pricing too.
Sure. How many minutes do you have LeBron playing?
Oh, dude, see, I have LeBron at 35, but I think that's a conservative estimate. He played 43 in regulation against the Hawks. I don't have any belief that Walton, despite whatever rumors, like Walton, and then we're going to limit him down this final quarter stretch of the season, because if they do, they have no chance. Since Lonzo went out, they're 29th in defensive rating, 29th. Like, they've been terrible defensively. They need LeBron, and they need top tier LeBron in order to have any chance of staying competitive. So that's
yeah, I don't disagree. I just bumped him up to 36 minutes now. I only had him at 34. I think that was part of me just thinking, oh, they're not going to really blow his doors off right out of the gate, but they don't have a choice right now. So I think 36 is fine with room to grow.
Yeah, they don't have a choice.
I love him on FanDuel at 11.7
Yeah.
compared to some of the other guys at a high price point. But I'm going to prefer Harden, but I will still have LeBron, and I greatly prefer LeBron to Giannis.
Right. I'm the same spot. I'm the same way. Let's take the three: Harden, LeBron, and Giannis. I have it Harden, LeBron, Giannis.
Agreed.
I just think I have LeBron a little bit higher than you do, but we have him in. Dude, Harden, no question. He's averaging 5 less potential assists per game since Chris Paul returned, but he's still averaging like 1 3/4 fantasy points per minute. And this game is still going to feature so much scoring.
It's going to be massive.
He still has a 40% usage rate since Paul came back.
Yeah, like I have him in for 39, and it always feels like it's a typo, but it turns out that he just dominates the ball.
So you love him tonight?
I do. I also love his backcourt teammate,
Chris Paul.
I have a lot of Chris Paul.
Okay.
7,800 FanDuel, 7,600 DK. The key piece for me, only 10% ownership at 7,600. That just feels low to me. He's still a 1.25 per minute guy. The Lakers defense is awful.
Garbage,
Awful.
dude. They have no back. Like, honestly, Lonzo offensively, like as a scorer, getting to the line, not good. We know that. But defensively, his absence makes a big difference, and it is shown. Like, how funny is it that when LeBron went out and Lonzo was healthy and Rondo was out, they were third or second throughout the whole time in defensive rating and 29th or 30th in offensive rating. Now Lonzo's out, and look, their defensive rating goes, into the tank. Just terrible. And offense is a little bit better, but man, their defense has been dreadful.
Yeah. Summing up this game, since we're running short on time, LeBron, Kuzma, Ingram is really all that I'd like from LA. And then Harden and Paul, without question. I really like PJ Tucker today. I don't know if
boy.
Like, not in a way that I would go absolutely crazy, but does he still play 35, 36 minutes, do you think?
I mean, sure. Shumpert's still out too.
Okay. He's 3,900.
Yeah, I could see it.
7% ownership in a high pace, like turnover prone game. Lakers are 28th in turnover rate over the past 2 months.
I don't think I could ever say I love him, but I get what you're saying.
I like the idea of if I'm paying down for someone to use, like, this feels like a good PJ Tucker spot if he's going to be 3,900.
Sure.
I don't recommend 40% PJ Tucker today or anything.
Right. Well, when you said you loved him, I wasn't sure, but I get what you're saying. Before we move on, like, we can't forget about Clint Capella.
Nope.
This was a thumb injury, right? This was a thumb injury. He was out for exactly a month if you're not including the break. If you're including the break, a month, 5 weeks. Tell you what, man, Clint Capella, 1.2 fantasy points per minute, around that on the season. He's down to 7K, speaking strictly about DraftKings, down to 7K flat on DraftKings, facing a Lakers team that's just been bodied by centers all year long, whether it be scoring or rebounding. They really struggle against opposing fives. Don't let JaVale McGee's block rate fool you. He's not a superb defender. I think if Capella comes back, and because they have a decent backup in Fareed, I think Nene probably doesn't play at all. I think Fareed gets all the backup center minutes. But if Capella comes back and plays 30 minutes in his first game back, that's hard to ignore.
Yeah, I have him at 28 and 20 today.
Okay,
Capella and Fareed. And I will probably have at least one lineup with Clint Capella at that rate.
Right. I think and you have Nene at 0, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, I have Capella at it doesn't matter. We got to move on. But I have him at 30 and Fareed at 18.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Anywhere in that neighborhood, I think, is fine.
Yeah, Trevion Graham starting for Brooklyn, by the way. So there, just add to that bouillabaisse of garbage that we've got. Look that word up.
Oh, it's
Uh,
delicious soup.
That's
Absolutely delicious.
awesome. I
Really tough to make.
never tried it.
Tough to make well.
I just like the word.
Yeah,
I just like the word.
I like the soup.
But if Capella plays 30 minutes, we could agree that you could be some real solid numbers there.
That is a very true statement.
All right, Josh, let's close it out, man.
Alrighty.
239 total between the Warriors and Kings. They're 12.5-point favorites. I believe this game stays close. They're notorious for letting teams hang around at the Oracle. Kings are a decent enough squad. Two fast-paced teams. Going to feature a ton of scoring here. And I know, here's the thing. I know Cousins is going to be super high owned.
Yeah,
And
52% on DK right now.
Yep, and the highest center on DraftKings. He was 32 last I looked. The truth is, though, it's still hard for me to get away from him. Steve Kerr indicated that there's no real hard cap anymore. They're not going to rush into anything, but he said I might start playing him down the stretch. Dude, if Cousins starts playing down the stretch to close out games and it starts tonight and he's 6,100 and you didn't play him, I don't know what to tell you. He's 1.4 fantasy point per minute guy against a team that allows the most rebounds to centers. And from a fantasy point perspective, they have been beat up pretty bad in that respect as well. God, it's tough to not play him, even though he's so popular.
Yeah, I completely agree with the ownership. I assume that I'll be somewhere around that. As I start to make my builds, I'll take a look at the other centers in that price range. If any of them are wildly underowned, I will bump them slightly to grab a couple extras at the cost of exposure to Cousins. But if he's at 50, I assume that I'm somewhere around 40. And if I'm higher than that, I'm cool with it too.
Right. I think the one thing here, and you kind of just pointed it out, is I'd be really scared to come in way under the field as like a way to pivot here because it feels tough unless it, foul trouble, ejection, anything's possible with Boogie. But barring any of that, it feels tough for him to just kill you, especially in this particular spot, man.
Yeah, it basically requires him to not be on the floor as much as we expect him to be.
Right. And if Kerr is going to play
he's
him,
not getting some 6.3 rebound bagel,
Exact. Lock it in, by the way.
Yep.
I think we talked enough on him. We like him. Do you know Curry? And I'm going to let you close this game out, but I do want to spend enough time on it. I think we'll be okay. Might have to go, 1 minute over here. You're on live before lock.
That's fine. I control everything.
That is the truth. You do. Do you know Curry? Do you know what his usage is with Cousins on the floor?
69. Sorry, that's the child in me answering.
19%.
Really?
So 173 minutes with Cousins. We got to talk about it. 19.6% usage, 16.7% assist rate, and 1.06 fantasy points per minute. With Cousins off, 32% assist rate or usage, 21% assist rate. I expect that to climb, and 1.4 fantasy points. So 53% of his minutes have come with Cousins off the court, but with Cousins on the court, Curry has deferred a lot, man. And
that makes sense to me too.
It does. Yeah. And look, I think his price is fine, but I don't think it's crazy to say that I won't say his ceiling is capped, but seeing that half of his minutes are going to be capped. Like his ceiling with Cousins on the court is capped. It's that simple.
I agree. I won't have much. He's at 15% on DK. I think that's about where I'll end up in terms of my total ownership. I'm just going a lot crazier on Draymond.
Okay. All right.
6K is just, it's fine. Too appealing, and it's really hard for him to bury you at that price point because he's going to do so much across so many different stat categories that, ultimately when you add it all together, it's really hard for him to totally crater you at 6K.
I agree. You're not playing Dre for the upside. At least I'm not. But
who knows? It could be one of those games where he goes 11, 11, and 11, and you're dancing.
And I dove kind of deep into those numbers. Cousins has really not affected him that much. Like pretty much everything's the same. His usage goes down by like 1%, rebounding by 1%. Assist rate goes up with Cousins on the floor. Per minute production is identical. not with him on the floor, but since he's returned, it's at 1.01. So not really too concerned about that. I think Clay's a great tournament option, by the way.
Yep, no issue there. He's the same as he always is. Just
Yeah,
don't have a lot of
volatile.
him, and understand that you're looking for 1 out of every 10.
Right. And look, he's volatile, low floor, just in terms of how many guys they have around him. But the ceiling, we know one thing. If Clay gets hot early on, they will feed him. And we know that.
Yes, they
And that's
will.
what you're hoping for. That's
Yep.
what you're hoping for. Yeah.
Quick on Sacramento, Fox and Bagley look fine on FanDuel. I really like Harry Barnes on DK as another like pay down option. And by really like, I mean I get why he's chalky. Not somebody I'm ever going to be stoked about. He's
He's actually
barely
my favorite
using the
play
ball for
Sacramento.
Sacramento. When he's on the floor, his usage rate for Sacramento has been like 17%.
Yep.
He's just dude's a ghost. But he's 4,700 and he's going to play 30 plus minutes easy.
0.85 fantasy points per minute. I think he gets close to 40 minutes. Mind you, they don't have him on Shumpert anymore. They need that defense against his former team.
Yep.
His defense has lacked a bit, but he's still clearly their best wing option against a Kevin Durant. So I think you get big minutes for him here. Aside from that, I think Bagley is a perfectly fine tournament option. And I'm not even trying to speed us up to get out of here. I just don't love anyone else for the Kings tonight.
I agree. They're better priced. The top guys are better priced on FanDuel. So
They are. That
Fox
is
and
true.
Bagley and Heald on FanDuel, and then you get into Willie Cauley-Stein, Barnes, and Bogdan on DK, and it's like,
Right.
okay, well, I don't need to go crazy here.
Right. And the truth is, if you really do love Golden State, and we like a lot of them, then you're going to want some Sacramento sprinkled in. But I like Golden State a whole lot more. Anyway, that'll do it for us. It's Josh and me, so we're always going to run over. But stick
Yes, we
around.
are.
You and Eddie coming up
Yes, we are.
live before lock, taking you up till 7. Thanks for watching, as always. And before you head out, hit us with a thumbs up, like the video if you appreciate the content. It really helps us out. Subscribe, hit the notification bell so you always know when new content's dropping. Until tomorrow, good luck. It's been the Deeper Dive.